What's up guys, John Burt III here, and we're back again for another video. Today's video is part 3 of the crankbait series, and today we're going to talk about my small finesse crankbait setup. So a lot of people think that when you talk about very small crankbaits, you either have to throw them on a spinning rod. Well, in today's market, the BFS route is the way to go. And so I have the perfect rod and reel to go with the very small crankbait, and we're going to talk about the crankbaits that I throw on this entire setup. So to kick it off, the reel that I throw it on is the Custom Light Shallow Spool. Super cool reel. Now, just a little kicker side note, this reel weighs 5 ounces. And you've heard me mention this reel before. So just to give you a little insight on the reel, this reel was designed by Lew's as basically their BFS model. I've been seeing a lot of debate online asking, is the Custom Light Shallow Spool a BFS reel? Is it not? And I've been seeing a lot of people go back and forth talking about it. But just to clear the record, this is Lew's BFS model reel. So this reel will throw really light baits. It has a shallow spool just like the Pro SP. But the difference is, and we're going to do a separate video talking about the real in depth between the Pro SP and the Custom Light Shallow Spool and talk about how they differ. But just as a quick overview, the difference between this and the Pro SP, they both have a shallow spool, but this reel is designed to throw very lightweight baits compared to the Pro SP. The Pro SP is designed to throw very heavier baits like 3/8 ounce jigs, half-ounce jigs, stuff like that, because it's really made for close quarter combat with 20-pound line. But this reel right here is designed to throw, you know, your 6-pound, your 8-pound, your 10-pound line, even your 12-pound line. So that's the quick overview difference between the Pro SP and the Custom Light Shallow Spool. But this reel as a whole, like on here, I have 12-pound fluorocarbon. So I put 12-pound fluorocarbon. That's my go-to size for cranking in general, with the only exception of the 2 model crankbaits that we mentioned in our previous 2 videos, the Hybrid Hunter and the Red Eye Shad. Any other crankbait, I throw 12-pound fluorocarbon. And so this is 12-pound Contra. And so with this reel, like I said, it's designed to throw really light bait, so you can bomb a very small crankbait on this reel. So if you're looking for a reel to throw really light baits, like really small crankbaits, jerk baits, Ned rigs, anything like that, and if you don't like to throw a spinning reel, the Custom Light Shallow Spool is the way to go. Point blank period. And so this reel right here, like I said, it's super lightweight, so you can fish with it all day. It literally feels like nothing in your hand. No over exaggeration. I really love this reel for really small crankbaits, and we're going to talk about the baits here in a minute. Now, to kick off the rod that I throw the Custom Light Shallow Spool on, I actually put it on the Custom Light rod. I mean, easy enough. So Lew's offers 2 BFS style rods. There's a 6/8 medium light, and this rod right here is the 7-foot medium light. Like I said in my other videos, I tend to like a somewhat longer rod, so I use the 7-foot medium light, and it can literally bomb cast very small baits. So you want to have the right rod paired with the right reel and the right line size to really dial this in. Now, 12-pound ain't BFS size line, right? We know, like I said, we talk about your 4, your 6, your 8. But for me, 12 is literally the lowest I go, unless we're talking about a spinning setup for a drop shot. And I'm still playing around with that, but that's neither here nor there. So 12-pound for this particular setup is perfect. This rod loads really well, so when you get bit and they bite that little crankbait, this rod loads really well. And that's the one thing I like about it, because when you're throwing those small crankbaits, especially when you're throwing them in the wind, you need to have a rod that has the parabolic bend to really load the rod and send that bait out, as we talked about in some of our other videos. I think it was the jerkbait video to be specific. This rod being a medium light, when you start talking about throwing the very small crankbaits, that is what you need. You need a parabolic rod that's going to load well. It's going to send the bait out like it's a slingshot. And you need a reel that has a fast startup inertia, meaning that it's able to throw really light baits very fast with little effort. And that's why I picked the Custom Light Shallow Spool. But also, as another little nugget here, you can also get just the regular Custom Light reel also. And if you know you're going to be fishing around like docks or anything kind of close quarter, the Custom Light Shallow Spool is great for that. If you're looking for a reel to make the longest cast possible with very small baits, the best way to go is the regular Custom Light SLP. But don't get it twisted. The Custom Light Shallow Spool can make a very, very long cast. And the backlashes are very minimal simply because of the shallow spool. Now, also, one thing I want you to keep in mind, with the Custom Light Shallow Spool, it's not made for bigger line, as I mentioned earlier. I just want to make sure I bring that back up. It is not made for bigger line. It is for small line. So now that we talked about the rod, we talked about the reel, we're going to talk about the baits that I throw on this particular setup. So to kick off the baits, here's one of them, the KVD 1.0. So if you've thrown the 1.0, you know it's a very, very small bait. And if you're trying to cast that thing in the wind, you're looking for Backlash City. Just straight up, just get ready to get the scissors out because you ain't getting that out of there. The 1.0 is one of the small crankbaits that I throw on this setup. Another small crankbait that I throw is the Chick Magnet Jr. So again, they're basically about the same size, but the difference between the Chick Magnet Jr. and the 1.0, the Chick Magnet Jr. is flat-sided. So that makes it even harder to throw. Another bait that I like to throw on this, and this is a little sneaky bait, and it's a bait that Strike King doesn't make anymore, but if you can get your hands on them, it's great. It's the Lucky Shad. The Lucky Shad is basically a very, very small, flat-sided, and it's more so long. It's a really, really tiny crankbait with a long bill. Another bait that you can consider just like the Lucky Shad is the Rapala Shad Wrap. So that setup right there, Custom Light Shallow Spool, 7-foot or 6/8 medium light, 12-pound line. Again, if you want to drop down to 10 or 8, that's on you, but I just choose 12. That's my go-to, and I'm not changing. That's the setup to throw a Shad Wrap, Lucky Shad 1.0, Chick Magnet Jr., even a traditional Chick Magnet, or a regular 1.5. That's the way to go. So another thing I want to talk about in this particular setup right here is that it's lightweight, so you can fish with it all day. The baits that you're going to throw, again, they're small, but the sensitivity of the rod, that's one thing that I failed to mention. Now, when you're talking about throwing a crankbait, it's like, do I need the most sensitive rod? Not necessarily, because you just really want the rod to be able to load. The sensitivity part comes in when you're talking about Ned rigs. I also use the Custom Light Shallow Spool to throw a wacky rig on it. And I normally pair that reel with the American Hero Tier 1 jerkbait rod, which is a 610 medium fast. And I tend to like that for throwing wacky rigs if I don't want to use the spinning rod. Now, don't get it twisted. The Custom Light Shallow Spool is a very, very versatile reel, but understand you're talking about your finesse techniques. Now, there are some pros out there like Jay Shakir. Sometimes he throws a drop shot on there. So again, if you're not a spinning rod guy, which, like, if you've heard from my drop shot video, I'm not that spinning rod guy, but I have them. The Custom Light Shallow Spool will allow you to not have to use a spinning rod and a spinning reel that often, simply because of the way that it's designed. So that's another thing to be able to keep that in mind. And so when you get the right rod, like I said, the medium light, that rod is amazing. The 6/8 or the 7-foot, you literally have the best setup all around to be able to throw those lightweight baits. So that's, again, that's something to keep in mind. When you don't have the right setup, you can't fish comfortably. And so, like I said, there are a lot of guys that don't like using the spinning rods. And in today's game, everybody's going super finesse. So if you're not a finesse guy and you don't like using the spinning rod, this is the alternative route that you can go. And at the end of the day, you're going to feel comfortable simply because you like fishing with a bait caster. And that's me. I'm that guy. So that's my small finesse crankbait setup. It's not a long video. This video is going to be very quick, very short, because I just wanted you to just have an overview of it. But when we're getting into the 1.5s, your mid-diving crankbaits, your deep diving crankbaits, those are going to be very, very good videos to really stay tuned for. But this is just a quick overview of my smaller crankbait setups. I don't throw small crankbaits a whole lot, but in very pressured situations, and you're talking about the fall, the winter, maybe the early spring, when there's like maybe the shad spawn, or when your bait fish is very, very tiny and you need to go down to that small crankbait, or that little balsa wood crankbait, or that flat-sided crankbait like the Chick Magnet Jr., that is the setup to go with. So stay tuned, because we got part 4 coming next week. We're going to start talking about your 1.5s, your 2.5s, just your regular square bill type crankbaits. So you don't want to miss that, because everybody likes throwing the square bill. I said the Hybrid Hunter is the 4-wheel drive, but you already know that 1.5 square bill, oh, it's gonna get the job done. It's the Tonka truck. So we're gonna talk about that next week. So make sure you stay tuned. Share this video with somebody that's trying to find a lightweight crankbait setup to throw those very, very small baits. I'm JB3, and I'll catch you later.